So what does it take to make a documentary that gets 1 million views within 6 months? Well, I don't have all the answers, but I am super stoked that a documentary that I made last year called Racing Tahoe, made that with a good friend of mine, Sally McRae, at the Tahoe 200. That documentary hit 1 million views this month. And so that's just a cool thing for me, especially a project that I was able to basically own from start to finish. Has hit 1 million views for the first time, and it's a 30-minute video, so that's not an insignificant amount of time. I've had reels go viral that I've made, that kind of thing, but people watch a 7 to 15 second clip versus a 30-minute documentary. That's just a different level of commitment. So thank you for watching. Here are some of the things that I learned through the process. We'll talk about production, post-production, and then of course what I think actually might be the most important, how to release a film on YouTube. So this was the second 200-mile race that Tyler and I filmed in 2023. It was nice to get some of those tough lessons learned out of the way on that first film, the Cocodona 250, and then we came into Tahoe with a little bit more of an idea of what it takes to carry a production through what ended up being, I mean, it's a 72-hour race. You have a couple hours on either end, so we're kind of looking at 75, 76 hours of constant production. Some of those little things that we tweaked were we got a car with a rooftop tent so we could sleep anywhere. With this kind of production, you really just have to sleep when you can. The Tahoe 200 course was not the easiest to navigate. I think we had 3 great spots on course that we could get to that had great views, made for great shots. But other than that, the course was just a little bit tricky. There weren't side trails to take up to cut off runners on trail. Now, we did have GPS trackers, which are great. It was a little bit more remote than the Cocodona 250, and so we were kind of having to guess a little bit about the times that Sally, the athlete that we were filming, when she would appear at different parts on course. That's always just a tricky thing, and I think at this point I filmed enough races that I kind of developed a good sense for at least knowing like what is the fastest that an athlete will get somewhere. There was one point during this race that Sally did get somewhere much faster than we thought that she would, and so we kind of had to pivot to getting a shot. We still got a shot, but it wasn't the shot that we wanted. The big thing that was helpful with Tahoe was having Billy Yang out there. Billy is a legend in the ultra running filmmaking space, and he was pacing Sally. So he did have a job to do, but he also brought along his GoPro, just getting a couple of extra shots as well as doing an awesome job pacing and shooting GoPro footage as well. You know, there's some moments that, like the moment that Sally makes a pass going from 4th to 3rd place, we just couldn't be there for that moment. And so having Billy there was a big deal to make that moment possible to have in the film. So at the end of the race, we went back to a hotel, and you know, at that point, I did try to get an interview with Sally. The only place I used that was in the intro. You do see her on camera briefly in the intro. And so I did pull from that because I love those like raw reflections, but you know, over the course of maybe it lasted 20 minutes. I mean, the last camera battery is dying because we've just been shooting and she's fallen asleep and I'm falling asleep behind the camera. We ended up just finishing off that interview remotely after the fact. And that's a good way to transition here into post-production. So we shot this race in July, and then we ended up releasing the film in September. So what all happened in between July and September? Well, a big part of that was doing the remote interview, which we did about 2 weeks later, because I went right from Tahoe, went on to another big project up in Vermont that kind of took me off the grid. And then we finally linked back up to do that interview a couple of weeks later, which was a little too long, to be honest. Like, you do want it to happen pretty soon after, but it is nice to give the athlete a little bit of space, especially with the race this long, to, you know, process and make sense of all the things that just happened. So we did that interview remotely. And one of the challenges was that the shot was totally blown out. It was overexposed. It was unusable. So one of the odd things with this film is that Sally's voiceover, you never see the interview shot during the film because it was unusable. And so that was a challenge that we had to work through. And it definitely looks like I stylized it just as voiceover, but it was really just a practical decision. So now the interview is done. That's kind of most of the pieces of the puzzle are complete at that point. And we're looking at post-production here, August and September. One of the big things that went into this one was the runtime. 40 minutes was probably around where my first draft was. I think it was a little over 40 actually. And you know, Sally and I went back and forth pretty extensively in the revision process, and one of the big things was the runtime. I thought that, 45 was too long, but like I wanted to hit 40 minutes, and I thought there were some scenes that really worked at that length. And she was really pushing to get it closer to 30 minutes. And I think that some of that came from like the other film was just a little too long. We wanted to tighten this one up. And she ended up being right that I think that 30-minute-ish length was the right decision. I know this is going on YouTube, and I don't let that influence me too much. Like, I don't let that change what I'm doing too much, but what I do let it do is I do think about momentum in the edit. So the race never stops. And so the edit, I'm not editing for retention. I don't care about retention. Like, I will look at the graph after the fact, maybe. For long form documentary, I don't think that's really the most like necessary thing. And also, I'm not being graded on the retention of this film per se. What I focus on is momentum, is just keeping the ball rolling. And again, a little bit of inside baseball. If you don't know what aid stations are, that kind of thing, they're just the breaks where people get to see their crew. I focus really heavily on like, what is the one point of that aid station and how do I move us through? Like, a lot of people will make films that the aid stations just sit and they linger and they're so long, and I'm not interested in that. That is where I find the momentum in the edit is getting through there. And yes, you are gonna have moments where we linger on a shot, and that's gotta be very intentional. And we're gonna have moments where a scene plays out, and that's gotta be very intentional. Like in this film, we get through the first 100K, the first 60 some miles in a matter of minutes. We get to the start line in less than 2 minutes. And finally, release of the film. This is where I get the most questions for sure about this film, because when something takes off, a lot of people come to you with the question of like, hey, I also want to make a film that kind of takes off. And there's a little bit of science to it. There's also a little bit of luck. I will say that this film has an incredible thumbnail. Hillary got a fantastic photo that ended up being the thumbnail. She graciously let us use that. I think the title also matters for sure in the genre that we're in, like including ultramarathon documentary. That is a big thing. And, in terms of the release, like we definitely hype it up a little bit. Sally does have a following, but for sure, I do want to just say, for the record, I think there's a lot of just like, oh, you work with somebody with a big following, like of course it goes viral. I think when we released this film, the subscriber count was around 40,000. It was somewhere in the 30 to 40,000 range. And so, 1 million views from a 40,000 subscriber YouTube channel, that is a big difference between the amount of people who are subscribed. And, Sally does have followings on other platforms. She has 200,000 followers on Instagram, but even that, right? Like, if you understand Instagram, like Instagram doesn't really convert super well onto YouTube. But what I think is important to understand, I understand Sally's audience enough at this point to know that like she does have that great base of like true fans. If you think about the 1,000 true fans concept, which I encourage you to think about as a filmmaker, finding somebody who has those like true fans is more important than finding somebody with a huge audience, because the true fans are the people who are going to show up day one. They're going to watch the whole thing. They're going to send it to their friends. They're going to watch it multiple times. All of these are great signals for YouTube that this video is doing well and that it is keeping people on the platform and it's encouraging people to engage. Like if you have those 1,000 true fans, or for somebody of Sally's audience size, like it's probably in the 3,000 to 5,000, like the really dedicated people. As you can tell, like there's not quite a bullet point list of things that you do to get a 1 million view documentary. But what I will say is that you can make a good documentary. Like that's number one, right? Is you have to make a good film. Then you have to do the right things to set it up for success. Even down to, right, this is a branded documentary, it's branded content. Our brand partners were so flexible to work with us. They had their logo in there, they had their product in there, natural integration, nothing else. If we had to do a branded spot in the middle, we'd probably see the retention drop. And that actually, even though I'm saying I don't really look too much at retention, if a ton of people just dropped off in the middle, that probably handicaps our documentary. So it's just about setting your film up for success, on building up a little bit of hype. We didn't hype it for months on social media. We really went hard for about a week, maybe 6 days on Instagram and Twitter and those kind of things, but we didn't like overhype it because, you know, people's memories only last for a certain amount of time, and they can only take so much of like the same thing being messaged over and over. So all that to say, is there an exact science? And the answer is no. There's not an exact science for making a long form ultra running documentary or any long form documentary and having it blow up on YouTube. But what I can say is that there's definitely some tactics that you can use, such as your title, such as your thumbnail, such as, you know, building that audience, releasing it towards an audience, styling it in a way that, you know, the intended audience is going to understand, keeping that edit moving, though you're not editing for retention. Like, it still looks and feels like a documentary, but like you're editing with a little bit of a YouTube mindset. All these are things that you can do to set up a good film for success. And I also think that like where you release it matters in terms of this film probably does 20 or 30,000 views on Camelback's YouTube channel. Camelback, you know, being one of the presenting sponsors. But we put it on Sally's channel, and that just has, if you know YouTube and you know how it works, connecting directly with the creator on their video is just a different feel than connecting with a brand YouTube channel. Anyway, those are a whole bunch of thoughts. I hope that gives you some insight into, you know, long form is not dead. You don't just have to make reels, and even if reels take off and do views, like, let me just tell you, 1 million views on YouTube is so much more time spent your audience is spending with your characters, with the products, with the brands that support it, and like there actually is revenue coming in as well from AdSense. So all of those are exciting. All of those are why I am so all in on YouTube, on longer form YouTube. And hopefully this is, you know, I'm super grateful this one hit 1 million. Hopefully this is not the only film I'm ever known for, but you know, we'll just see what happens. We got some other irons in the fire this year, and excited to keep pushing forward.
All right, Drew, do your magic.